Okay, it's time to implement our next feature in our application, and we're going to start with the messaging, and our messaging system is going to have a message entity, and we're going to follow a normal flow of setting a feature up, and it always starts with the entity, and we're going to implement a new class, and we're going to call it message. And let's take a look at the properties we need inside here. We're going to give each message an ID. This is going to be generated by the database. What we're also going to do is track the sender ID, and we'll have a string for the sender username, and we'll have the related property, which is going to be the app user, and we'll call it sender. And we'll do the same for the recipient as well. We'll have a prop that's an int for the recipient ID. We'll have a prop that's a string for the recipient's username, and we'll have a prop of app user that's going to be the recipient. So this is for our relationship. These properties define the relationship between the app user and the message. And then we'll have some message specific properties. So we'll have a string for the content. We'll also have a date time, and we'll say date time and bring in system, and we're going to call this date read, and we're going to make this optional because we want this to be null if the message has not been read. And what we'll also do is have a date time, and this is going to be the date time that the message is sent, and what we're going to set this to is datetime.now. So as soon as we create a new instance of this, then we set the time to the current server timestamp, and then we'll have a couple of additional properties, and we'll have a boolean, and this one's going to say sender deleted, and we'll have another boolean to say the recipient has deleted the message. And the reason for these, if a user decides to delete a message that they have sent, then we're not going to delete it from the recipient's view of the messages. The only time we delete a message from the server if both the sender and the recipient have both deleted the message. And then what we can do is we can go across to our app user class, and inside here we'll add an additional 2 collections, and we'll say prop I collection, and this is going to be for our message, and we're going to say messages sent, and we'll add another I collection, again of type message, and this is going to be for messages received. And then, just as we did before with the likes, we're going to need to go to our data context and configure this ourselves. And what we'll do is we'll add a DB set for the messages. So we'll say prop DB set, and we'll add message, and we'll call the table messages. And then in our configuration, what we'll do, we won't give it a made-up key like we did with the likes. We're going to let the database generate this, and what we'll do is we'll say builder.entity, and we'll specify the message, and what we'll say in here, we'll say it has 1, and we'll say u goes to u.recipient, and we'll say with many, and we'll say m goes to m.messages received, and we'll add the onDelete behavior, and in this case we're going to say the delete behavior should be restrict, because we don't want to remove the messages if the other party hasn't deleted them themselves. So what we'll do then is do the other side of this relationship, and rather dangerously I'm going to copy and paste this again, and we're going to be super careful about updating these properties. So this one's for the sender, and a sender has many messages sent, and again we keep the delete behavior to restrict here. So now we've got our entity configured, let's go ahead and add the migration. So once again we need to shut down the API server for this, and we'll say .NET EF migrations add, and we'll just say message entity added, and press return. And cross fingers and hope this works. and we have success. So let's go take a look. And what we should find is that we've got our migration created. There's going to be nothing exciting going on in here that we haven't seen before. Everything's going to be as you would probably expect. One thing to point out is the date time, because we added the question mark. We've got this as nullable, which is okay. But in the case of the message sent, then because we didn't add the optional, then this is not allowed to be null. What we also have is our relationships in the constraints. We've got our foreign keys set up for the user recipient ID and sender ID, and our delete behavior to restrict as well. So that's all good. What we'll do next is continue the flow of what we do when we set up a new feature, and the next part is setting up our repository.